Hello, I'm Lady Aska, and today I want to show you guys a few things you can do in Unity to add some effects to your Vroid models. We will also use the zero masking effect that I introduced during the last tutorial. But first, we will learn how to copy parts of your model in Unity for effect purposes while keeping bones and movement intact. And second, how to create a moving texture without animation. Followed by third, how to trigger all of this with your voice. Here you can see how all of this could look like, but I'm sure you would find even better uses for it. The only thing you would have to create beforehand is a texture that you can use to activate the effect. Let's get started. As usual, we create a new project in Unity and import our UniVRM plugin. If you aren't worried about using HANA tool later, you can use any version of Unity and the newest UniVRM plugin. The version I recommend for HANA tool later is mentioned, as always, down in the description. We move our model into the bottom assets and even better, into a separate folder to keep everything organized. Now, since I want to make a single hair strand stand out, and we already have our own hair here, we will create a copy of the bone structure of that hair in edit mode. We rename this part to something that is related to the effect we want to create. To get this hair to be recognized as real hair now, we also have to create a copy of that specific hair strand under the hairs section. You can find out which strand is the one you want by clicking each hair on the list. The different strands should then light up slightly. Copy the strand you need and paste it there as well. Your copied item should pop up at the bottom of the list and you should rename it again into something related to your effect. Now, we also have to get a material ready that will carry our texture. We switch to textures, import our prepared texture and then go to materials and create a new material. This material should again be called something you can find again easily. I will call mine Rainbow. The shader should be changed to the mToon shader here at the top. Just type mToon into the search bar and the option should pop up. Rendering type should be transparent. Under textures, we either move our textures into the little gray boxes or select them from the list after pressing the little ball icon to the side of the box. Remember also that we can set here the neutral state. So if you want to trigger this effect only when you talk, you don't want to show it all the time. To achieve that, we will set the transparency here to 0. Having your new hair selected in the list to the left, we switch over to our inspector to the right and change the material here under materials to the material we just created. As you see, copying the hair from our model also copied its materials and setups. The most exciting part is now to trigger this effect while we talk. Under blend shapes, we have already ready-made blend shapes for A, E, I, O, U, which we will use to achieve this effect. We select each of the blend shapes and add the following to their respective material lists. Our rainbow material that we created before, and with underscore color, we will be able to set the transparency back to 255. Also, don't forget to set the color itself to white, so your original color comes through. And with that, we have our first effect ready. I will quickly export this to show you how it will look now in VSeeFace. This is pretty impressive already. Now let's make it even better by having the texture move like it would be animated. We go back to Unity and to our hair strand, and there in the inspector to our material at the bottom, not the category at the top this time. You may have a bit of a hard time finding it since we turned it invisible here, but if you scroll down here further, you will see a section called Auto Animation. We can set here the direction of the movement of our texture. To showcase this a bit better, I will make the texture visible for now and let the camera face our model. Like this, we will be able to see the effect of the options here in real time in play mode. As you see with Scroll X, the effect gives us a horizontal scroll animation. We can put in here whatever amount we want to make it pleasant to look at. With Scroll Y, we get a vertical scroll animation. And before you ask, yes, you can combine these as well to get a diagonal effect. The last option here is a rotation animation. This could be useful if you wanted to have a spinning galaxy, for example. I will use the scroll Y here, and since this animation is attached to our material, this will be acknowledged by VSeeFace later, without the need for the SDK plugin. So you could have a .vrm avatar with a constant scrolling animation like that. One thing to consider here though is that there's a little catch when it comes to the animation being tied to the material. If you wanted to reuse the material somewhere else, all its properties would migrate over as well. So if you remember the spinning ball from the beginning of the video, this would happen if you reuse the same material. You would have to create another material, maybe even with the same texture, and then set the outer animation on that one to scroll X, for example. I will quickly demonstrate that before we export our final product. We stop the play mode here and switch back to edit mode like this. We create an empty game object, like we did in our last tutorial under the head, rename it to spinning ball, and add in the inspector now a mesh filter and a mesh renderer. Now, instead of using a mesh from our model like last time, Unity offers some pre-made meshes that we can also use. One of them is a sphere. But you could also use any of the others. The sphere may be giant in the beginning, so feel free to place it wherever you want first, using the movement arrows and the resize tool. We still have to create a new material now, and we will do that and name it slightly different than our last one. The shader will be the mToon shader again, and we will set the rendering type to transparent. Under color, we are able to reuse our texture. For our testing purposes, I will turn the texture visible for now. But remember, if you want to trigger this later, you should set the transparency here to 0. Now we can attach this material to our new mesh renderer, and we can add a new animation here as well. If we press play now, we can see our sphere texture spinning nicely. And now you can decide if you want to also trigger this with your voice. So let's just set it up here to wrap up the tutorial. Set the texture on your sphere to 0 and switch over to your blend shapes. Here you can add your version 2 texture as a new material to be triggered for all your vowels. So we repeat the process that we did before, and voila! A spinning ball that will appear and disappear as you speak. Of course, a ball like this may not look that impressive, but you can use it for so many things. And in this tutorial, I'm just covering the basics and the maybe surprising fact that you can export all of that as a .vrm, including the animation. I hope you have fun experimenting with these effects, and I'll see you all in the next video. I hope you have a wonderful day.